what information was received other than you found meth on this informant?
That they had previously left the residence of 656 Cat.
That says,
Well, I didn't finish his answer.
I'm sorry, please finish your answer.
Sir. And that arrestee, while was at the residence, used methamphetamine. That was the information that we're
Okay,
talking.
so what you're stating to this court is that was the so-called following independent investigation, correct?
Be correct?
Is we have a stop of someone who is arrested.
That's correct.
They're charged. On interrogation of the individual, they say that in an approximate time, they've been to the defendant's house and used drugs there and bought drugs. This is 25 CR 0074. Were you born in 1950?
Yeah.
Last four digits, social security number 5060.
Yeah.
What does the Commonwealth have here?
Well, there's two issues, I think, Your Honor. Both, Mr. Crowell filed a motion to suppress, which we're ready to proceed on. He's also filed a motion to release the identity of the transactional informant that was the basis of the search warrant. In the police report, Ms. Canancer, when she was being processed at the jail, basically accused a lady of being that informant and said she's going to get it. So that we've got case law that basically says when an informant has been threatening or a reliable informant, the Commonwealth doesn't have to release their name. And that's our position at this time.
Her response, Your Honor, is that, of course, Ms. Knatzer made some sort of passing statement, which I don't think could be viewed as a direct threat. But
Unless it's about you or me.
I can understand the Commonwealth's position. I just don't agree with it. However, the problem we have is A, this is a transactional witness. B, this case can't be tried unless we have that individual's name. C, we can't have an effective hearing regarding the search warrant because credibility and the subsequent investigation after the report is received are the two major issues. You know, did the officer was he proceeding in good faith based on a reasonable foundation that he had to obtain the search warrant? Now,
We frequently have hearings where they say that it was a reliable person if they've previously had information from him before, that's without revealing.
well, possibly, we don't know what we're going to get into.
I know it's possible.
It's possible, but if it's somebody somebody's just a snitch out there, that's great. We don't know. We have an idea of who this is. Now, here's the other thing. There's probably some sensitivity to things like this, and if we have a hearing on this, it might be good to do it off camera and
What's the
perhaps.
sensitivity?
Well, when you start talking about people who report people for possession or sale of drugs or
That's why
whatever.
Mr. Stockton doesn't want to reveal it.
Well, especially when Ms. Canancer names a name that she doesn't want to get it. I mean, that's not giving her a Christmas gift.
Well, is that who it is? I mean,
Well, I'm not going to confirm or deny that, but she gave the name. So, and she said she's going to get it.
The only thing that would have changed with the threat would be the name.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I want to tell you something.
When are you going to be ready to have this suppression hearing?
Well, you got the witness here today, the officer.
Well, let's see what develops. We'll have the suppression hearing, see what develops. Okay.
When do you want to do that?
Let's do it now.
That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's roll her over. You will call your witness, Mr. Stockton? You want to come up here? Will you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony that gives the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, state your name.
Thomas Pendergrass.
You got to speak up right in the microphone. And who you employed with in what capacity?
As of now, I'm employed with the Pickett County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee as a deputy sheriff.
Here, Judge, I'm trying to do three things at once. Not doing any of it very well right now.
You want to pass this to the end of the docket, so.
No, let me get my thoughts. Officer Pendergraft, where are you employed now?
The Pickett County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee.
In Tennessee, back in July of 2025, where were you employed?
The Clinton County Sheriff's Office here in Kentucky.
Were you one of the officers involved in the search of the home of Shirley Kanaska?
Yes, sir.
Without naming any names, tell the court how that search developed. And
The initial search developed from a search warrant that we were able to obtain.
You need to speak up.
Sorry, sir. The initial search derived from a search warrant that we were able to obtain.
did you have anything to do with obtaining the search warrant?
Yes, sir, I was present.
All right, did the information that was in the search warrant flow from an arrest that you all had made that prior to the search?
Yes.
Without naming the individual, what was the nature of the arrest?
It was a traffic stop with the arrest for the driver for DUI and possession of methamphetamine.
All right, and what did you learn from that defendant that led you to get a search?
I had learned from that defendant that they had just previously to the traffic stop purchased the methamphetamine at the residence of Shirley Kanaska.
I mean, did the person telling you this give an address?
Yes, they did.
Did that person provide you with any further information as to drug purchases that he or she had made at that address in the past?
Not in the past, sir. Just the events of that night.
Was the sheriff present when that arrest was made?
The sheriff was not present.
No, not at that time.
No, sir.
Who prepared the affidavit for the search warrant?
I can't recall if it was Michael Raines or his assistant, Angela.
Were you the officer that swore to the search warrant?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You look back to the approach, Your Honor. look at this document and tell me what you believe that to be? And I think that is the affidavit.
If that is, believe be part of the affidavit, the search warrant.
All right, and that was, and you are the applicant, and that you were the one. Would you read that to the court?
Nodding your head will not get it. That's a voice activated microphone.
Yes, sir.
Just read what the affidavit that you filed with the district court asking for a search.
This says, acting on the information received, affiant conducted the following independent investigation. Through investigation, the affiant learned from the arrestee that she had just previously left the residence of 656 Cat and Mouse Road, Albany, Kentucky, 42602. The arrestee stated that while at the residence, she snorted a line of dope and took 2 hits off of a meth pipe. The arrestee stated that the substance she used was given to her by the residents of 656 Cat and Mouse Road, Albany, Kentucky, 42602. The arrestee further stated that this residence is a place she frequently goes to get drugs.
Now, were you present when the officers actually went to Mrs. Canaster's house
Yes, sir.
and conducted the actual search? Who else was there? What other officers?
Deputy Christian Markham with the Clinton County Sheriff's Office, Officer Parker Hickman with the Albany Police Department, as well as Trooper Brandon Poole with the Kentucky State Police, and myself.
Did you hear Mrs. Canaster make any statements during or at the conclusion of the search?
Yes, there were.
Did she make any statements about who she thought the informant was that turned her in?
Yes.
What did she say about that individual?
Can I refer to my citation?
Yes, sir.
Says during casual conversation at the PD, which would be the police department, Canaster stated that she thought Diane Smith had turned her in and stated that she was going to get it.
But Diane Smith actually was not the informant. Is that correct? Without telling who was.
Correct.
So at that time, Ms. Canaster made a threat. It showed that she was going to get the informant, whoever she thought it was.
Check, Your Honor, that's leading and that's not what it said.
Well, I sustain the objection to the.
Well, Judge, it's the position of the Commonwealth that we do not have to give
Let's
the.
finish the question.
I'm through with him. I'm through with this gentleman.
Deputy Pendergrass, I do have some questions for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this individual that was subject to the traffic stop, was this an individual you were familiar with?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what had been the basis of your familiarity with that individual?
Prior arrests.
Okay. Is that the only dealings you'd had with that individual?
Yes, sir.
Did the prior arrest deal with anything regarding honesty or veracity, or were they simply drug or DUI?
Judge, I don't even understand the question. I object to that.
Well, I'll rephrase it. Do you recall what the nature of the previous arrests were, sir?
I can't exactly recall.
Were they drug related, or do you know?
I can't recall.
Okay. Now, specifically, the information that you received was that there was methamphetamine at that residence. And in fact, when you conducted the search, no methamphetamine was found. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you know what the ultimate disposition of the case was involving the informant? You know if she pled guilty or was convicted?
The informant, that was not my case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Who was involved in that traffic stop with you?
Myself and Officer Parker Hickman from the Albany Police Department, as well as Trooper Brandon Poole was present toward the end of the stop.
Where did that traffic stop occur?
It occurred at the intersection of Allen Street and it was at the end of Allen Street. I cannot recall the other road that
Okay.
intersected it.
One end of Allen or the other. Allen Street be about 2 miles from this
Yes.
location where Miss Canatra lives. Is that correct?
Approximately 2 miles.
So it would not be in the immediate vicinity, correct?
That's correct.
And you did not see
2
this
miles.
vehicle, observe this vehicle leave from the residence of Miss Canatra. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And you had no other information other than what this informant told you that this vehicle had been to the Canatra residence. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
Okay. Now, your affidavit states that you received information to traffic stop. First of all, the traffic stop, you had a search and found a plastic bag of white powder substance. The substance field tested positive for methamphetamine. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, below that in your affidavit, it says, acting on the information received. Now, I'm not understanding how this information, what information was received by you before we get into this so-called independent investigation.
Can I refer to mine?
Yes, you may, sir.
Right here on this page.
Yes, sir, I have it. That's what I have pulled up. But I'm not wanting to get into the second part. I'm wanting to get into the part above that. What information was received other than you found meth on this informant?
That they had previously left the residence of 656 Cat.
That says,
Well, I didn't finish his answer.
I'm sorry, please finish your answer, sir.
And that arrestee, while I was at the residence, used methamphetamine. That was the information that we were
Okay,
talking.
so what you're stating to this court is that that was the so-called following independent investigation, correct?
Be correct?
Okay. But it's, what happened, and I'm trying to figure this out. You stopped this individual and found meth, correct?
I did not stop the individual.
Okay, so you were with some people that did.
Yes, sir.
Methamphetamine was found, correct?
That's correct.
At that point in time, there was information either volunteered or responded to by questioning that I got this meth at 656 Cat and Mouse Road or Shirley Canatras, whatever. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, after you received that information, what independent investigation did you do?
We acted on that information.
Okay, so am I correct? And there was no independent investigation by you, or as far as you know, by any of these officers after this defendant, after this informant told you this information, correct?
There was questioning to the informant for validity,
But that's all at the time.
Let him answer his question.
that substances would be there. We then took that information to the county attorney, then a search warrant was.
But what I'm asking is, after you got this information from her that said she'd been to a house 2 miles, what other independent investigation was conducted, if any?
That is all.
Okay. And the only dealings that you had with this individual before is prior arrests, correct?
Correct.
Would that affect your determination as to the credibility of an informant if you'd arrested them before?
No, sir, I believe that they were telling me the truth at the time.
You believe they were telling you the truth, but no methamphetamine was found, was it?
That's correct.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Actually, according to your affidavit that you read just a moment ago, the arrestee in that instance said that she snorted a line of dope and took 2 hits of meth. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. Now, was the address that the arrestee gave you the address of Mrs. Conover?
Yes, sir.
And you all went, after you went to, where did you get the search warrant?
The county attorney's office.
Let me ask a question here. How long did the person you arrested say it had been since they had been to this residence that you ultimately searched?
Sir, we were told that it was directly previous to the stop.
How long after you got the search warrant did it take you to go to the address that was given?
Approximately 30 minutes
Same
from
night?
the signing. Yes, sir. The signing of the search warrant.
And exactly what did your return show that you found there that night?
Can I refer to my?
Yeah,
There's approximately $9,058 in cash that was in multiple denominations and bags and some bills of lading.
where was that located?
This was all, this part was all found in a safe, in a bedroom to the left of the house. It was, believed to be Shirley Canancer's bedroom. Also, she stated to us, that was her bedroom.
When you say she stated it was her
Miss
bedroom,
Canancer, Shirley Canancer.
this is the lady sitting here.
Yes, sir.
What else, if anything, what else was found?
There was 51 dosage units of a white oblong pill with the inscription M523. It was in a clear plastic bag. That came back to be oxys, 10 milligrams. There was 50 dosage units of a yellow round pill with the inscription 230. It was in a clear plastic bag. That was also oxy, 10 milligrams. There were 6 clear bags containing suspected marijuana that had a total approximate amount of 25.65 grams. There was also 9 pill bottles containing different types of legend drugs. The majority of it was tizanidine.
To find anything else related to drug activity?
Not in that room, sir. That was all.
In the return, I'm looking at Mr. Cross.
Yes.
Do you have the return or a copy of the return in your records?
I don't think so, sir.
Do you know who prepared the return?
That was me. That was
All right. So when I ask you if there's anything else other than the pills that you described, okay. Did you find any drug paraphernalia?
There were, various pops, and then there were 2 digital scales.
You found digital scales?
Yes, sir.
Sure, he's the one that got that really detailed.
You're picking up on the microphone. You're picking up on the,
All of this way, Mr.
okay, you have anything else?
Now, Deputy Pendergrass, the return says, quote, various drug paraphernalia, close quote. Did you itemize or particularize what you said were pipes found?
There were just multiple pipes that were collected. That was all.
And when you say pipes, what kind of pipes do you mean, sir?
Pipes used to smoke substances.
Were these in the safe? Were these found in the safe?
No, that was not in the safe.
Okay. You know who was living at the Knatzer residence?
Shirley Canancer, Tawny Canancer was there. There was also a juvenile, male. And also they had said that, I believe it was a grandson, was also staying there, but he was not present at the time for the search warrant.
Now, the safe was locked, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's go back to the initial traffic stop regarding the informant. The informant didn't say 656 Cat and Mouse Road, did they?
That's correct.
What did they say? What did they refer to?
Shirley Canancer's house.
Okay. And did they specifically refer to Shirley Canatzer or just say Shirley Canatzer's house?
They said Shirley Canancer's house, and when I further questioned them about where, they said it was on Cat and Mouse Road. They were able to describe the house and which side of the road it was on.
Now, when you and the other officers obtained this information, did you all have a discussion amongst yourselves how next to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was a mutual.
What was the nature and substance of that conversation, sir?
Well, I can't exactly recall. It's been almost
Now,
a
Officer
year.
Pendergrass, you're not a native of Clinton County, are you?
No, sir.
And I believe you live in Tennessee now, correct?
Still live in Kentucky.
Okay. How long have you lived in Clinton?
Approximately 5 years.
Okay. But you didn't have any experience with this informant other than being involved in arrests prior to this night. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you discuss with Hickman, Poole, Markham, any of the other fellows of their prior experience or dealings with this informant?
I can't exactly recall if I did or not.
So based on what you can recall today, no one in that group indicated they had previous, no one, rephrase that. No one had any basis for believing that this individual was reliable based on any prior dealings with it. Is that correct?
I can't recall the conversations that we had.
So you can't remember anybody saying, oh, I believe her, she's told me stuff before, or anything like that? No conversation regarding that?
I can't recall, and I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to say I did, and it's been so long, I
If
can't
you don't
recall the
remember it,
conversation that we had.
you can't recall.
It wasn't
Thank you.
citation.
That's all I had.
In the conversations that you had following the arrest on a traffic violation, Mr. Cross asked you about conversations that you might have had with Sheriff Markham and who is it, Officer Hickman?
Sheriff Markham wasn't involved.
Who else was there?
Well, I know who was there. You know, there's a state trooper, city police officer.
Officer Poole. Did anybody indicate to you that they recognized that address to be in a high drug traffic area?
Yes, sir, we all knew that was a high drug trafficking area.
So there was some investigation made other than just relying on what the individual told you.
Yes. Just prior knowledge, knowing of that area.
That it was a high traffic
Yes.
area.
Yes, sir.
Great.
But the affidavit says you conducted, quote, following independent investigation, close quote. And you just simply had some knowledge, some reports from somewhere that there may have been some drugs at the Canatzer residence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't conduct any subsequent investigation.
That's
correct?
already been asked and answered multiple times.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you very much. You want to make your argument, Mr.
Your Honor, I'm through with Deputy Pendergrass. I do want to address the court regarding the name of the
I'm
informant.
not going to give you a name.
Your Honor, I understand that at this point in time, but I wanted to address the court and move to do something. I would
Your
move,
motion.
yeah,
You got it.
I would-
You
I would-
deserved it.
yeah. I would move that the name be furnished to the court in camera and divulged to counsel for the defendant so I can make my own investigation of this individual and the prior criminal charges that they've had in order to help gauge and determine the reliability. The basis of this is we've heard that he's had prior dealings with her, but nobody had any informants. I just want to see what kind of record this gal's got, if it's a female. And I think that's appropriate. It's a safe way to do it.
Okay, Mr. Henley, you want to make your argument on the validity of the search warrant?
As I understand the privilege law in Kentucky, which starts out that at the initial stages, they definitely is a privilege that the Commonwealth does not have to reveal the name.
I've already ruled on that. Okay. I want to know about the validity of this search here. I want your ultimate argument. If you can give the argument.
Well, I think the search judge is valid. You heard the proof.
Tell me why you think it is.
Well, there's no reason to suspect that informant was telling anything but the truth. That night.
Let me do a Socratic method here. Okay. What, you got something?
No,
Okay, so what we have here is we have a stop of someone who is arrested.
That's correct.
They're charged. Upon interrogation of the individual, they say that in an approximate time, they've been to the defendant's house and used drugs there and bought drugs.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, and so they come get a search warrant, they go there and they find drugs there.
That's correct.
And then she makes a statement. She thinks she knows who it is, which would indicate to me that maybe there have been enough.
That's possible.
Going on. That's possible. And then they search and they find drug paraphernalia and they find drugs, multiple units of various drugs and that sort of thing. Now, tell me why that search is valid, or is that enough? Did they have to do any other prior independent investigation or reliability?
Well, you have to ask the most important thing, I think, Your Honor, is that all the officers there that night when the girl gave them the address recognized that to be a high traffic drug area. And
okay, now with that additional information, is that enough to sustain the search?
I think it very well could be.
Well, I know I'm going to decide what it could be. I want to know whether the Commonwealth believes it is.
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
I want you to tell me, do you think the case law in Kentucky allows the search under the circumstances that we just related about you and the something?
Well, the case law is all over the place on these things, Judge. Depends on which case you would pick out. But
Well, here's the thing. You're going to have to tell me what you're relying on.
you want us to brief the case?
I'm going to ask Mr. Cross, you've heard what the Commonwealth had to say, and I don't believe it's necessary for you to respond to it at this juncture. And I'll let's have the case briefed, and we all agree on what the facts were. I stated the facts and you supplemented with something that was crucial. So we will have briefs on the thing.
30 days, okay, Your Honor?
30 days.
Thank you, sir.
This officer be excused. You may be excused. Thank you.
In this courtroom hearing, the judge examined a major challenge involving a search warrant and the reliability of an informant. The defense questioned whether police had enough independent evidence before searching the defendant's home, arguing that the warrant relied heavily on a single person's statement. The officer testified that the information came from an individual arrested during a traffic stop who claimed drugs were recently obtained from the residence. However, under questioning, the officer admitted there was little additional investigation beyond the informant's statement and officers' prior knowledge of the area. The prosecution argued that the informant's information, combined with the search results and the discovery of suspected drugs and related items, supported the warrant. The judge focused on the key legal question, whether the officers had a reasonable basis to trust the information used to obtain the search. The court ultimately requested legal briefs before making a final decision, leaving the validity of the search warrant to be determined.